Okay, and we're live again. So far we've made it to 11 seconds, frozen twice. Let's see if we'll make it past 11 seconds this time. 10, 11, 12. Okay, it's still rolling. So,
Just give a few seconds.
Has anybody found us yet? Send me a message if you've found us, because this is the third link we've tried to open up to get this going.
Yeah. Can you hear him?
My questions are on my computer.
For a little bit, just so
Hello, hello. Just test the mic for a minute. Padma has joined, but nobody else. Can you paste a link of this into, make a post on the site? Paste a link for this, or whatever you got to do to get people on from the site. Annalisa's here. Susie Darren is here. Okay, so it looks like people are finally finding us. My apologies, everybody. We don't know much about this. My computer completely froze at 11 seconds twice. So here we are now, and we'll start with the questions. Can you get my questions up, please?
Yeah.
So I'm running off a different computer now, and I'm going to be looking over to the side here to get some questions. So let's start with some of these questions. Hi, David. Nice to see you up in Norway. Wish I was there with you in the nice cold. Okay. So I want to start with Bobby's question. I've recently found myself engaged in Lalita of lovemaking. I think what she means is Lila, the play of lovemaking. Apparently not physical, when she explained a bit more to me. Just the idea of attraction in things. It was suggested to me by a trusted source that the reason why 9 out of 10 men I'm attracting are feminine is because my energy is masculine. And of course, my interest is to choose that 1 out of 10 as a lover, the more masculine one. So her question is that though she's fairly feminine appearing, you know, soft and sweet, that kind of thing, and she thinks she's coming off masculine, right? And she did an experiment, a fun, quick experiment. She figured out that when she enters a room, she's immediately in hunting mode, stalking her prey. So therefore, I'm not resonating with the type that I would like to attract the most. So the question is making slight adjustments to the personality for the reason of, you know, trying to find a mate or whatever, or being accepted or seen for who you really are, inauthentic or deceptive? Can you speak a bit about how these energies work specifically to the lila of sexuality and attraction? And are there any practices, exercises on how to balance this within someone like myself? Okay, so this is probably something that would be best if it was in a live dialogue, because it's quite a complex question. But I think the main thing about this is it okay to make adjustments in our, I didn't even see my question. Is it okay to make adjustments in our personality for this reason? Is it inauthentic or is it deceptive? Well, Bobby and everybody else, hi from Cambodia. Here's the key thing. You know, it's a very complex question, really. The question is, underneath all this, what is appropriate for us? What is in our nadi? The partner that we want to have should be in our nadi, right? So to attract the partner, to see the partner, to have the proper opportunity to be with the partner that we're fated to be with, we have to ourselves be in a place of authenticity. So you asked about authenticity and how it works in this process. So I think it's very important to understand that we have to be ourselves very authentic for this to work out correctly. So when we are in any way, shape, or form altering our personality to be perceived in a certain way so as to attract somebody, right away it's karmically loaded, right? We have to be willing, when we take the spiritual path, to say, you know what? It just might turn out that I go this alone. But it's better that I'm who I am and alone than altering who I am for somebody else. And you might think, well, if I alter who I am for somebody else and then I can reveal myself to them later as we get to know each other. It's not good, because in the ancient tantric or Vedic way of seeing everything, the beginning of something is very important. How we are when we first meet somebody should be very transparent, should be very real. And if people can't deal with us the way we are, then it's just kind of too bad for them, actually. So my advice would be, don't change anything. Stay exactly as you are. And also don't worry so much about getting a partner, right? I think this is something we go through phases of in our spiritual life, but at certain points we have to just go, okay, the game is much bigger than whether I'm hooking up with somebody. So what we always do is just work on ourselves. Here's the advice that I always got and that I give. Work on yourself, and then when the opportunity arises for somebody, you feel a nice confluence with somebody, and you feel that energy moving back and forth, then you flow with it. That's fine. You go with it. But to think, oh, I want to go over to this place or that place because there's single people there and I could meet one. This is all okay, but it's a little bit off track, really, to be honest. It's always much better to meet somebody in your normal circumstances as you're really trying to follow your nadi, because those are the people who will be on your nadi. And you, because of that, will be on their nadi, right? So in, let's see, 2000, I had been separated from my wife for 3.5 years at that point. And I was in the game again, trying to date, and it was horrific. I didn't know how to date. And I was thinking, what are the different ways to meet people? And I tried many different ways to meet people that would be confluent with, what I do as a Dharma practitioner, health practitioner, things like that. And every time I exerted myself in those directions, I met really nice people and had really nice friendships, or got really disappointed, nothing happened at all. But certainly the person of my dreams did not appear. So I just simply stayed in my nadi and said, okay, after consulting with my teachers and friends in the Dharma, I was like, okay, so if I just stay true to who I am and do what I'm supposed to be doing my sadhana, having a real life, then if somebody comes, then it's part of my nadi and I'm part of their nadi. And I have to be ready to be alone until then. And that's the thing. And this is not shocking news. This is not a great tantric revelation. I don't have any great tantric revelation for you there. Now, working with attractive energy, when you're going into a place and seeing if you can attract people or not, obviously that's manipulative. We don't want to do that. We don't want to be hanging carrots on the end of the stick trying to attract people. But seeing your own patterns when you move into situations where, social situations where attractions might be natural, et cetera, seeing your own impulses is extremely important. Like, how am I standing? Am I natural as I normally would be? Am I having a drink, which I normally wouldn't? Am I talking in ways I normally wouldn't, right? Am I trying to be interesting or funny? Am I fading away against the wall and fading back because I'm so freaked out by the whole endeavor of meeting somebody? So really watching how we are in those situations is very good. And you get a lot of grist for the mill in that situation, so you can find out a lot more about yourself. But I would never change. I wouldn't do anything to change my personality or who I am, to be perceived by a person in a certain way. I wouldn't do it. Again, you got to stay on your nadi. That's when you attract somebody who's part of your nadi and you're part of their nadi. That's where the longevity of relating occurs, et cetera. Now, if you're talking about polyamory or you're out there just picking up for the night or whatever, then really none of this matters, honestly. So it's a whole different ballgame. I'm talking about for people that are looking for relationships, really want something, longer, long-term, that kind of thing. Okay. And Bobby, if that didn't quite catch it, feel free to write back about it. Now, you wrote something about practices. Can you speak about these energies, work specifically with any practices on how to balance within someone like me? The whole path of Tantra is to balance ourselves. It's not to balance ourselves so we can get a mate. It's not to balance ourselves so we're better at work. It's not to balance ourselves so we're a better parent. It's simply to balance ourselves so that we can become who we really are, who we always have been, but we haven't really discovered it yet. So that's the advice, just to follow the path of Tantric Yoga. There's no special thing to do to balance it, especially so we end up with a mate. Just keep following the tradition and you can end up where you're supposed to be. Again, if I didn't cover it well enough, please send in some refining question on that. Okay, let's go to another one. Okay, Lulu in China. Who is the param guru who sits above the root guru in the invoking the guru lineage practice of Sakshandation practice? Is this tradition, in this tradition, and as your student, would that be Machanda above you? Okay, when you invoke above yourselves, the 2 fist distance above your head, is considered to be the root guru, right? The root guru. That root guru in our tradition is Machandanatha. When we talk about param guru, it's confusing in the same sentence, because how it usually works in the Indian way of seeing things, the physical guru that you have, because in India you didn't take dead gurus as your guru. That's a modern phenomenon for people that are afraid to really work deeply with people and so on. But when you take the real guru, which is a physical being who can actually work with you and advise you and give you good instruction, that physical being, they are your Sat Guru. They're called Sat Guru, Sat, the existent one, the existent guru, the one who's in form, basically. Not Sat meaning truthful and all that stuff. It's a misunderstanding. Sat Guru means that one guru who's connected to essence and in physical form for you, for your benefit. And then their guru is called the Param Guru. So there's your Sat Guru, Param Guru, then there's Parameshti Guru, and it goes on and on like that, up the line. And when in the old days, when you would meet somebody, they'd say, who is your guru? That means your Sat Guru. Who's your Sat Guru? And then you would say the name. If they didn't know them, they say, well, who's the Param Guru? Then you'd say the name. They try to place it. So they try to place your lineage and know who you are, where you're coming from, what kind of teachings you've had, etc. So there's 2 ways to do any of these practices, Shakti Shaiva foundation practice, especially so, on invoking guru lineage. You have an option of, the traditional way would be put the root guru here, and above the root guru would be essence guru, which is the symbol of Shambhunath Shiva or Anuttara Shiva. In this case, going into the mythological, going into the icon that's beyond all human form and so on. In this case, like Anuttara is not male or female, so this is nice to put there. So you'd have Anuttara or Shambhu, and then you'd have Machanda, that kind of thing. Another way to do it, another way that people do it, I don't recommend it exactly, but I'll tell you why in a minute, but people will put their Sat Guru above their head, 2 fists above their head, and arm's length above that, then they will have the Param Guru, representing that beyond the beyond. It's very devotional, it's very beautiful, and indeed for people who are oriented towards devotion, it can be a good way to go. It can be a way to deepen your practice and understand it. But I believe today, very few people have the psychological stability and maturity to place the physical Sat Guru in the place of the root guru and talk about them, basically turn your heart towards them with this kind of deep spiritual devotion. You can, if you're in stage 5, moving into stage 6. I highly do not recommend it if you're lower stage, just getting into stage 5 and you're 1, 2, 3, 4. Instead, we would rather see the root guru and our guru becoming the root guru. All the gurus in the universe that you have in your lineage, they become that root guru over your head. And the reason for this is so that we don't project our own immature psychology still onto the Sat Guru in the place of the root guru. So if I put the image of my real physical guru there, I haven't overcome in stages 1, 2, 3, 4, all of my projection, my mommy and daddy stuff, my Jesus Christ, perfectionist, human teachers should be like the Christ, they should be perfectionists, they should be martyrs, all these crazy projections we have onto teachers. I haven't gotten through that yet. So if I put the physical representation, even though it's a translucent light body, of my Satguru up here, it's going to trigger a lot of that. It's going to become conflated, right? The true spiritual direction of the practice is going to become mixed up and confused with my own projections. And it'll be harder for me to get through those projections. Again, after stage 5 into 6, from there on, you can do anything you want because it'll feel perfectly natural to do all of that. But this is Shakti Shaiva foundation practice. And for that, we have to become aware of our psychology, not project it. Keep the spiritual really clear from the psychological at that point because we're not clean enough yet to do that, let's say. So this is the way that works out for now, okay? So I would have Machanda there and then Shambhunatha or Anuttara above that in the highest position, okay? All right, Dorgamurti, Brazil, bom dia. Well, actually, yeah, it's afternoon for you guys, evening maybe. Dorgamurti. I've been engaging with the biography of the Buddhism yoginis, Buddhist yoginis like Ayu Khandro, Sarah Khandro. Yeah, Sarah Khandro is amazing. You read Sarah Khandro's biography and you look at her photos and you think, my God, there was such an enlightened woman. It was unbelievable. And that's so great for inspiration. I agree with you. are there any material from our lineage, for our lineage yoginis, I see, about our lineage yoginis? Why do we consider Ananda Mayi Ma a lineage yogini? Was she a non-dual tantrika? Can you speak about great tantric yogini Sukmangiri? Okay. The Buddhists have always been so much better than the Indian Hindu type tantrikas at recording history. There's this very strong impulse in Indian Hindu tantra, Shaiva tantra, Vaishnava tantra, that history and recording it and biographies of the saints and so forth is all very egotistical. That's always been their direction. So they've never kept really good records, really good histories. And they haven't had a lot of like famous female teachers in the tradition. We had Keoravati. She's super famous. In fact, most people agree now that she probably wrote the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra, the compendium of 112 tantric methods of direct realization. Let's see. There was also Lopamudra. Lopamudra was a very, very powerful practitioner, deeply involved in the origins of Sri Vidya practice. So we have some of these great luminaries in the past. However, really big books written about them and practices set up like you get in Tibetan Buddhism or Dzogchen and so forth in Bonpo practice, they don't really exist so much. Formalized practices where we're taking this female yogini who's realized and turning her into kind of a deity to be worshipped through mantra specifically for them, prayers for them, visualizations to get blah, blah, blah. This is all done, of course, done in Guru Yoga, in Indian Shaiva Tantra, Vaishnava Tantra, Shakta Tantra, etc. It's done as a normal, I could say the most pivotal practice in our tradition is to work with the Mahasiddhas, female or male, in this way. So it's not just saints and yoginis, they're Mahasiddhas really, these ladies. But it's not formalized the same way, okay, with textbooks and all that kind of thing. So we don't have a lot of information about their day-to-day lives. We don't have these textbooks about their practices and so on. Why do we consider Ananda Mayi Ma a lineage yogini? That's because if you draw if I'm here as your teacher, right? And then you draw all the influences back as a tree with many branches about every teacher that came in from different streams to add up to what I know and what I share with you in teachings, that's like my lineage tree. Well, Ananda Mayi Ma was extremely pivotal in that lineage tree because my Satguru from India was dying when he was like 5 years old, and they took him to medical doctors and nobody could help him. They took him to psychiatrists, nobody could help. And he was just dying. He just didn't want to be involved with the world. He wasn't eating, he wasn't playing. This had been for like 3 or 4 or 5, 6 months already. And it's called failure to thrive. He was just dying right in front of his parents. So they brought him, eventually someone said, you have to take him to Ananda Mayi Ma, which is quite a journey at that time before good transportation systems. So they brought him over to see Ananda Mayi Ma as a little boy. And she said, oh, he's fine. He's just trying to go too soon. She smacked him on the head, laughed, and said to him, it's not your time yet. You don't go now. You have to come back and be a really famous teacher for the world. And that's what she said to him, and she gave him that blessing, and she was quite a powerful saint. And then he came back into his body. He said he remembers seeing that occur from like 5 miles up in space, like hurtling back into his body, landing in his body, and then becoming a little boy again, playing and all the rest of it, and then became a great yogi. So was she a great tantrika? It's kind of strange. She has a very strange kind of history. She got married fairly young, which was the custom. She was sent over to her husband's house to live with him and sleep in the same bed and all that. And she would have nothing to do with him sexually, nothing to do with him physically. She just wasn't ready. And he was apparently a really sweet guy because she was pretty young. I think she was like 15 or something. And he said, okay, no problem. We'll wait a few years. So he waited and waited, and he kept asking once in a while. She was like, no way, Jose, you're not having sex with me. And this kept going on and on and on until eventually he was like, come on, we have to have a family in India. You have to have children. It's a big thing. If you don't have children, it's bad. So he's like, we got to have some kids. And you're like getting past that age of when women have children in my culture here, in our culture. And she still refused him. And as actually when he would try to come on to her, she would often go into like spontaneous yoga postures and breathing and chanting, and sometimes be thrown right out of bed onto the floor and going through many different yoga postures and so on. And he started to realize, wow, something weird's going on with her. She's probably not possessed. She seems very spiritual. Anyway, this process continued until she then realized that, she was going to go on a whole different path. And so did the husband realize it. She sought out the local Brahmins to get initiation. And they said, no, you're a woman. You can't get initiated into this. And she said, oh, well, screw you. And she went home and basically did her own fire ceremony where she initiated herself. And she did this where she played the role of Shiva, initiating herself as the devotee. So she would sit on one side, this is the way I heard it, and she would do the puja as Shiva, giving diksha, initiation. Then she would go around the other side and sit there and receive that initiation from Shiva symbolically. So she initiated herself, never had a teacher. And she went through this thing where she had this relationship with Shiva as her guru. And she, what became known as a really fantastically realized saint, yogini. So that's her story. And then she came to influence us greatly in this way. Now, I always talk about how a person needs a physical guru and how there's 1 in a million or 1 every generation who doesn't. And she's the one who didn't, because she's that 1 in every generation. But what you see now very much in modern neo-tantra, in the modern yoga movement, all over the place, neo-Vedanta, everything is like, I'm my own guru. Everybody thinks they're as talented and as full of capacity from previous life work as Nityananda Baba, as Ramana Maharishi, and as Ananda Mayi Ma. It just isn't true. I mean, it's another huge ego problem for everybody to say, oh, I'm just as talented and connected to God as they are. I'll just be my own guru. It's just kind of really ridiculous, actually. But that's what happens now all the time. So that's how Ma comes in. Can you speak about the great tantric yogini Sukhmangiri? Sukhmangiri was actually a great tantric yogini who did have a guru, and she achieved a high level of realization, stage 8 or stage 9 at least, because she was really powerful. And she was sitting in the town square of Satyananda's home as a kid. Swami Satyananda grew up in Almora, a hill station in northern India near Nepal border, near Nainital. Nainital, Almora, that whole hilly area was known as like a tantric hotbed. Tons and tons of tantric yogins hung up there. So one day he went into town and he went in to get some supplies, and he often carried a rifle with him because he lived on a very big plantation. He was only a teenager, but as he walked into town, sometimes tigers would come or leopards and try to attack, so he would like scare them off with the gun. Anyway, as he went into town, he noticed there was this woman, a very powerful, small, kind of chubby, round woman, he described her as when we talked about it. And she was very dark-skinned. She was Nepali, apparently, but very, very dark-skinned. And he said that he looked at her and he wondered what she was about, why she was sitting there in the dirt in the middle of the town square. She looked like a yogini, but he wasn't sure. And then he found all of a sudden that his mind was completely seized by this woman, and that she was drawing him over to her, and he didn't even want to walk. He said, I was in my head saying, stop, stop, don't move, don't move. But I couldn't stop myself. She was drawing me over. And once I was standing in front of her, she said, pick up that bucket. And he picked up the bucket. He didn't want to do it either. No, don't pick up the bucket, but he picked up the bucket. She said, go and fetch milk for me and bring it back, or water, or whatever it was. And he wanted to stop himself, but he couldn't stop himself. So he went and got whatever she wanted and brought it back. He put it down, and kind of the spell was released on his mind. He was completely captivated. Now, at that time in his life, he had been working with mind development techniques and so on, but he had no guru yet, hadn't studied tantra yet. So he was so intrigued by what she did, he was blown away, that he invited her to come and live on his property, his father's big rural property in the jungle, in this cave, and stay there and instruct him for like 9 months. And she said she agreed that she would. And there was only one thing he had to do, was to bring her a bucket of fresh meat and a bottle of fresh whiskey every day, or brandy every day. That was her diet. So he brought that every day, and she instructed him in Kaula Tantra, left-hand Tantra, very far out tantric practices. And he said, are you my guru? Should I take Diksha with you? And she said, no, I'm not your guru. Your guru is to come still. I'm just teaching you in the meantime. This is who Sukhmangiri is, very powerful tantrika. We don't know her param guru. We don't really know her lineage, but she was Kaula Tantrika, probably Krama Kaula, just like us. That's where we get a lot of it in our lineage. She was Nepali, and she was very powerful with a lot of siddhis, right? She could control people's minds. She could manifest things. She lived out there with the tigers and the leopards and the elephants and cobras, and they were all around her, and she had no fear. And she actually had a demand that if Satchidananda were to come train with her, he could never bring his rifle. He had to walk all the way from his home, all the way into the jungle to the cave, really scary journey with all these dangerous animals around without his rifle. That was her demand. Okay, so there we go. Let's see. And Durga Murti asked the second one, which is good. Still not sure if I understand the concept of echo karmas and karmic tigers, stage 5 karmic tigers, right? Echo karmas occur after stage 5. And there are differences. Okay, in a nutshell, karmic tigers in stage 5, as we teach it word for word in the training, are those aspects of ourself that are not congruous with our nadi and with our spiritual development that we haven't processed out in stages 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those disparate aspects of ourself that are non-congruous, non-confluent with our nadi, with our spiritual development and where we're going. And they're in stage 5, we discover them because we didn't do the proper amount of preparation work in stages 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's not too late. Of course, you can always purify again, do more foundation practice. That's extremely important. And as you know, I teach about this all the time. We should be doing round after round of purification practice, no matter how advanced we get. But those karmas that we don't work out in 1 through 4 show up in 5 as karmic tigers. And in 5, you see the stakes are very high because we're on the verge of non-duality, on the verge of living non-dually. And that means that the karmas there become very powerful. What was like a small karma in stage 2 or 3, let's say, I don't know, being lazy or something. When you get into stage 5, being lazy, if that's your thing and you haven't worked it out yet, when you get into 5, it becomes a big thing. And you have to know how to deal with it skillfully. You really want to try to expunge it. You really want to try to transform it at that point, because if you don't, then it becomes an echo karma for later. Even if you move through 5 into 6, maybe it's even holding you back from going into 6 or 7, that karmic tiger. You really have to transform it. But anything left over, as you near the end of 6 and go into 7, of course, we don't expunge all our individual karmas in 6, 7. We just have full realization of the view that we are the base. Our mind and the nature of mind merge for periods of time during the day and then pull apart. So we're functioning normally, and then we practice and we get a few seconds or minutes where our mind and nature of mind, or where Dharmakaya becomes prevalent or Sambhogakaya becomes prevalent in our practice. But the rest of the day, we're living in that semi-non-dual zone where the mind and the nature of mind are in this relationship, but you recognize that that is your nature. You recognize it and identify with it. So you've moved into stage 7, but you haven't expunged every single karma, right? The karma mala is not gone. The maya mala is not gone. You still have a body. You still have emotions and reactions. So, but they're vastly reduced when you get to stage 7, right? So then these are then considered echo karmas, because once you recognize your nature as Dharmakaya or base, those karmas can never truly take over your mind again, except for a temporary amount of time. So you could fall, as it's called, for a short amount of time, but then you'll regain your status because you recognize, you recognize the view. You've been steeped in the view so much. And by recognizing your nature in stage 7, you really identify with the view as your most powerful, lowest common denominator. You can't go below that again with identification. In fact, if a person falls at that stage, they know they're falling, they know they're down, and they really are doing something very unnatural for themselves. They bring themselves back up again. But those echo karmas will continue to act on a being all the way through 7, 8, 9, and only in stage 10 will they clear out. When you're a Mahasiddha and you've expunged all the karmas associated with individual limitation, except the one that has you appearing as individual. You can still hang on to that one and become immortal. So these are the karmas, echo karmas, karmic tigers from 12-stage perspective, okay? Go beyond the result. Yep, okay. So yeah, getting through these karmic tigers through waking down is really important. The more cycles that you go through waking down, going through your karmas, getting through that, letting the kundalini start to work with you in the sva kundalini stage, the self kundalini stage. The first stage out of 3 stages of kundalini is only the sva kundalini. That takes you to Sahasrara chakra. That's not full enlightenment. That's why all the gurus fall, because they think nowadays that the journey is done when they reach here. They don't know about the extra bodily chakra stages and then how to bring it back to the heart again. So you go through that karmic expunging as much as you can, as many times as you can. You'll cycle through those karmas. If it takes psychotherapy, it takes psychotherapy. If it takes deep retreats by yourself, silent, that's what it takes. If it takes celibacy enforced, that's what it takes, whatever. I've taken multiple periods of celibacy in my life, multiple periods of being alone in my life, multiple periods of very austere retreats in nature, limited diet, no contact with people. You have to do this. You have to do this to find yourself. It's impossible to find yourself without periods of this in your sadhana. You just can't do it. Okay, so it's part of the waking down, yes. Long answer. Joanna, what books do you recommend for Ayurvedic studies? Well, in the beginning, I recommend Robert Swoboda's books. They'll give you a good start, but I recommend a progression. So Robert Swoboda's Prakriti book, that's a good start. Then I would move to his book, Ayurveda, Life, Health, and Longevity. I love that book. And then I would move to Dr. Ladd's textbooks. There's 2 textbooks, maybe 3 by this point. He wrote 2 by the time I checked last time. Read those 2 textbooks. They're quite good. They're not really technical textbooks, and there are a lot of Dr. Ladd's personal flavor of Ayurveda, but it's kind of nice. It's a soft and easy intro. After that, if you really want to know, after that, if you really want to know more about Ayurveda, and you're going that route, then you have to read Ashtanga Hridayam. Ashtanga Hridayam is the next really good text series to bring you into Ayurveda on a technical level, classical level. This is a classical text in Sanskrit. But you can't do it on your own. You can't get the translation of the text and learn it on your own if you really want to understand Ayurveda. For that, then I highly recommend that you do the courses that we're developing, or you go train 101 with Dr. Ravi at Puntotam Ayurveda Ashram in Kerala, where we just had our Vajradeha retreat and where I go for treatment for Panchakarma, and I recommend it for the school. So Dr. Ravi and I have developed trainings in the way of Ayurveda for people that are interested, either to help them get healthy just to practice better, or for those people who wish to be Ayurvedic practitioners or doctors. And that's all being developed now, and those programs will start coming out probably 2021. So this is the progression I would follow with text and then into one-on-one study or class study with Ravi. Okay, Joanna? In Shanghai, I think. Nice to have you on. Maybe Japan. Sometimes you go to Japan for work. Okay. Padma, how does sadhana change your karma? Is it possible to change your fixed karmas? This is a really great question and really requires a book for an answer. So let's do the best we can to answer it shortly for Padma here, because she's in the live studio audience. How does sadhana change your karma? Well, that's what sadhana is, changing your karma. It works in many different ways. If you want to take a neurobiologist, neuroscientist way, neuroconsciousness way of looking at it, you're basically reconditioning your mind through your brain. But that only goes so far, because sadhana eventually is much more than brain activity. It's supramental. It goes into pure sentient consciousness, awareness, which is not located in the body. And when the body dies, it continues onward. So sadhana changes your karma by reconditioning your brain, which also allows your mind, your nature of mind, your true nature to come through and be expressed without inhibition. So basically, karmas are conditioning, limiting conditioning that keeps us from knowing our true nature and expressing our true nature. So how does sadhana change this karma? It affects it on the physical level. There's sadhana of physical conduct. So it changes your conduct. Again, reprogramming your brain, but comes out as your conduct. And you start by controlling your physical behaviors. There's yoga that reprograms us as well to be more natural, to flow with open channels that are bi-directional, connecting to the environment, so we have an understanding of how to flow with the universe and our nature and our nadi. It also then, sadhana changes our karma by connecting us to icons of essence, which are purified forms of essence, like Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya. In other words, the pure base and the pure potential energy of the base shows up as deities. This is a huge part of Tantra. Now, somebody was recently talking about on a very popular Facebook group about Tantra, that deities are archetypes, and you don't need them anymore. You just get rid of them when you're done with your psychological problems that the archetypes fix. I could not be more opposed to that idea than ever. That's the worst idea. I would debate that person all day if they would take me on live debate. Why? Because deities are actually, in our tradition, self-arising awareness beings. Deities are self-arising awareness beings, and we work with them in our path. Yes, our path is Mahasiddha, Trika Mahasiddha Yoga, the path that the Mahasiddhas gave us. But at some point along the path, it can be very, very helpful for us to take the help of a deity, right? It has helped me tremendously in my sadhanas, in my middle period. That's usually where you get them. You do foundational practices, you pray to deities and so on, but you don't do the deity yoga yet. You don't do the initiation into the mantras with the visualization practices where you're trying to become the deity in their mandala, and you look at their yantra and all that kind of stuff. That's middle level practice for tantric yoga. And then higher level, we go into the formless meditations on light and sound and so forth, right? Pure essence. Now, when you're working with the deity, this is very powerful because this being is not generated by your mind, like everyone says. This being exists the same way you exist. The difference is the enlightened deities are deities who are not partaking in the karmic spectrum. So when we join their energy through deity practice, and you should really receive deity practice from a guru. I'm also very clear about that. This idea that you experiment with mantras that are deities' energy bodies and throw them away and try next one, throw it away, try next one, learn them online, learn them in books, again, put out by many teachers today. I'm completely against it. And of course, I'm a lone wolf. And of course, we don't have thousands of people in our Facebook group. We'll never have thousands of people because what I'm telling you is the real work. And I don't think a lot of people want to do the real work today. It's much more fanciful to think about things psychologically and then think of yourself as realized and run around teaching already. So when we contact the energy of the deity given to us, introduced to us by the guru, who also has connection to the deity through their own sadhana, see, it must be a live energy. Then we're receiving, touching a type of energy that can invoke or evoke within us that awakened energy of enlightenment in ourself. I want you to think about it like a tuning fork, and you're a tuning fork. But the tuning fork that's moving, if it gets closer to the tuning fork that's not moving, they both start moving in synchronicity, synchronous moving. And that's how we can get awakened by a deity's energy. And that's also how we get awakened by our Satguru or Tsawe Lama, Guru Lama that is right for us, the one that we're destined to be with, that accepts us to teach us. And we're so grateful for that. It's that resonance between us that wakes us up. You know, you can hear the same teaching by 20 different teachers, and then there's one that you go, whoa, that just hit me. Oh my gosh, and it's the same teaching. That's more to do with the resonance, right? Between you two. Could be just your time to wake up too. We can't always say that means that that's your guru. But this resonance of the tuning force is what we're looking for. This is that higher frequency of energy that allows us to lift our game during the sadhana, to experience ourselves as something beyond whatever we could have before. And we think, my God, I'm so beautiful in my essence, not my ego. My God, my essence, my Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya is the most beautiful thing. It's just the same as this pristine deity. It's polished and beautiful with no self-thought, just pure beingness, pure knowing, no self-thought. No like, oh, I'm such a deity. Oh, I love myself so much. That's all psychology. That's fine in stages 1, 2, 3, 4, but that's not where you're going. With deity yoga, you got to be 5 and above. And when you have that experience, that's another thing that really recalibrates your karmas. I mean, they fall away in bucketfuls when you start identifying as who you really are, a Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya being, but by using the vehicle of connecting to the deity, who is a spontaneous, arising awareness being, pure Dharmakaya, pure Sambhogakaya. And when you connect with them, or the Mahasiddhas who are the same actually, the great Buddhas of enlightenment, then that's all the same, and you're connecting with that energy. Your negative karmas can't resonate with that incredible energy, that high oscillation energy, and they just fall away. They get recalibrated. And a big part of that is us seeing the truth, us seeing the reality, imbibing the view and finally going, wow, so this whole spiritual game isn't really just about making me happy, fixing my problems. It isn't some God realm experience where everything is good all the time and I'm just going with the flow and it's all sweet and wonderful. You know, it's about really knowing my true nature, which is way beyond all these self-directed thoughts, self-observations, self-empowerments, self-love, self-confidence, self, blah, blah, blah. We get rid of all the self. We finally are being who we are. Because when we are in all that self-reflective awareness mode, we're not really being who we are. We're observing the possibility of what we could be and falling in love with it, enamored with ourselves, kind of like narcissistic. And it's a big block to the spiritual path. It's very big for neo-tantra, yoga community. And it's a necessary stage in psychology, but when you confuse it with the spiritual path, which really gets going from high stage 4 into 5, then we have a serious problem, right? Okay. Is it possible to change your fixed karmas? One really important question, right? Yes, it is. So it's important that we can change our fixed karmas. Fixed karmas are karmas that we see in an astrology chart. Like, wow, I am so born this way. Am I ever going to change? Yes, the negative outcome of your fixed karmas will change as you go down the path. As you get in stages 8 and 9, fixed karmas will start to fall away. Of course, fixed karmas have to be gone by stage 10. You're a Mahasiddha. So in the process of 7, 8, and 9, these fixed karmas start to fall away, start to transform. Now, it's interestingly enough, some of these fixed karmas may really be a part of your personality display. How we use that term in Trika Mahasiddha Yoga is personality is our karmic conditioning, which comes out all day long as our personality. But then the personality display is when we release a lot of those karmas, then we start to express who we are from the inside through the vehicle of a body, through the vehicle of a certain psychology. It's not like your psychology goes away and you're a robot. No, you have to have a personality display. So it just so happens that some of these fixed karmas relate to the personality display. Here's an example, a very extreme example that I use a lot because it's really great at showing this. Drukpa Kunleg was a master of Vajrayana in Tibet, and he hung out in Bhutan a lot too. I think a little Nepal. He was very lusty growing up, a very, very lusty man, lots of sex. When he became enlightened and really irreversibly like super enlightened, that lust then became one of his vehicles for teaching. And it didn't even go away. You could say it amplified. He was famous for having so many consorts and having so many sexual encounters like per day as he traveled around. Now, this is an example of that complete turning and changing that around. Okay, so one thing I should mention about this, so that's an example of him turning around a fixed karma, but it became part of his personality display. I think that's very important to understand. So yes, we can transform fixed karmas. When the fixed karma goes away completely because it's not part of our personality display, then we notice a massive character change in the person. Let's say Drukpa Kunleg, his fixed karma of lust was not in his personality display, not in his fate to be a teaching method for him. Then when he was ultimately realized, he would have been like, the church mouse, basically like no kind of lust, no kind of lust display, no 20 consorts a week, nothing like that. And it would have been a massive character change. Everybody would have noticed it as a massive character change. Now, many times people think that's the only way that we go beyond our fixed karmas. That's the only way we express enlightenment. But that's not true. That's only one way. There's only two ways. One is some fixed karmas fall away and you look really different character-wise later. The other way is some fall away, but some crucial ones stay and they become your personality display and actually your vehicle for your teachings later, right? Let's say someone was a great orator, a great speaker. That's a fixed karma in their chart. You can see it in the second house, all kinds of things. Irreversibly enlightened and their personality display comes out. Well, they could go completely silent. That would mean that fixed karma fell away. It's not part of their nadi, not part of their personality display. Or they could still be a great orator and now it's all spiritual and spiritually charged and gets people connected to spirit and that's part of their personality display, right? So that's how that works. Okay. I should have put out something earlier when I was answering Bobby's question about attraction and so on. A lot of the reasons that we have these questions is that we don't get really good view training in what we call the doctrine of desire in our tradition. And February 13 to 18, right in this room and out on the beaches and up on the yoga platform and so on, we're going to be teaching Reclaiming Your Sacred Passion. There's a few spots left for it. It is one we will hold here so we don't go over 20 people with it. But there's a few spots left if anybody wants to get into it. If you don't come for this one, and you're still trying to integrate the energy of second chakra, which is emotion, ahankara, ego, and sexual desire. If those three are still kind of hanging out for you and need to be integrated in your spiritual work, because they're the fuel of your whole spiritual life, you know, if you don't have them under control, if you don't understand them and transform them, it's going to be impossible to get realized. If that's happening for you, come to Reclaiming Sacred Passion. That's what that course is designed for. It is not a neo-tantric sex workshop. It's definitely not about tantric sex. Okay, it's about transforming the limiting karmas of stage 2, which includes sexuality, right? Just make a mention of that because I think it's important. I forgot to mention that at that moment because we all need that. The other thing I wanted to mention is that Padma asked about, you know, getting rid of our fixed karmas. And I think it's pretty important to understand that if you're on that path of really trying to transform, really trying to maximize your human potential, like Sandra's question we'll get to in a bit, where she's saying, I don't really think I have a goal to be liberated or be free. I just really want to be in the moment and love. That's great. If you have a really great goal to do that, you don't need a goal of enlightenment, just need to adhere to the present and the path. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But to do that, you have to be as karma free as you can. So there has to be some yearning to be karma free. Otherwise, you really can't be present as much as you can. You really can't respond to your energy as much as you can. And what people call pratibha, which is intuitive moments, honestly, you have to be very, very purified to have strings of intuitive moments happening all day. It means you have no karma anymore. Really, it's very, very rare to have these moments. The great Dzogchen master, Namkhai Norbu, said, I'm lucky in 2 hours of meditation if I get 3 or 4 seconds where I'm in that state of pure pratibha or intuition or being my Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya energy for a moment, like without conditioning. That's one of the greatest Dzogchen masters the world's ever known. Said he gets it for a few seconds a day in meditation. So how hard is it for us in the daytime to actually have these pure intuitive moments? We have to really understand what intuition is versus something else. And we've covered that in other classes. But anyway, we'll get to that some more. So the Kundalini Hatha Yoga retreat, this is what I'm saying. If you really want to purify and you want to get supra-mental, you just don't want to do just psychological work. You need to get at the root, which drives the psychology, the negative psychology. Then come to Kundalini Hatha Yoga training, Way of Fire. Because that is how we access the parts of our mind that we can't see directly or we can't control directly, right? We don't know how to access that using only mind alone. It's like the eye can't see the eye, or you can't control yourself in this way. So you go deeper into your channels, your prana, your chakra, and we perform kumbhaka, leading to maha kumbhaka, leading to pure Kundalini awakening and completion of Sva Kundalini from Muladhara to Sahasra. This is really the yogin's way of completing those karmas. Only using tarka, looking at them like that, or psychology is only good up to a certain point. We must go deeper. So there's another way we can do that. And so we're having a retreat this summer, August 17th to the 26th here in Costa Rica, where we will dive deep, level 2 Kundalini Hatha Yoga. It has a prerequisite of level 1 Kundalini Hatha Yoga. Try to practice it for 1 to 3 months before you come to level 2, if not more. That should be up on the website by February. Website, by the way, is coming together and should be together first week in February. And all the basic foundation courses, the preliminary course, the foundation program, Shakti Shadva foundation practice, Kundalini Hatha Yoga level 1, that stuff all going to be up there in other classes as well. Some of the stuff from Trika Method, the body journey, mind journey, spirit journey, and so forth. And then we'll keep adding classes. But anyway, the prereq for Kundalini Hatha Yoga for retreat at level 2 will be up around February at the latest into March, I think, giving you plenty of time to practice it before you arrive in August. Okay. And you would inquire more about that. Everybody, when you have inquiries about the courses, go to trikapath@gmail.com. TRIKA path, PATH @gmail.com. Okay. Did you want to tell me something? You were coming over? Okay. Have a sip and we'll go to the next question. Sandra. Wie geht's? Okay. Meine Damen und Herren, in Deutschland. Okay, here we go. I better stick to English. So, what if I don't long for liberation when I have no goal, she says. where practice feels like a natural longing. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't long for liberation. I just repose in every second that the goddess gifts me. And the practices let me peel off layer or after layer, of constructs so that I'm drawn deeper and deeper into what feels like reality, like right there without longing for something outside herself, she's saying. It's humorous, fierce, and I can't stop wondering and being in awe of her beautiful play. Okay, great question. Now, let's handle it with a 12-stage view answer. Many times we have this experience in stage 3 and stage 6. In stage 3, which is quite an attainment, don't think, oh, stage 3 is so low. No. Stage 5 that we talk about with yogic practice, deity yoga, all these high yogas, that's actually really high. And there's not a lot of stage 5 people out there, but a lot of people are doing stage 5 practices. And that's a big problem, right? Because they're doing stage 5 practices with a stage 1, 2, 3 view. This doesn't work. And they're not really ready for it. But in stage 3, I've gone through stage 1, I've been wild and got all my yayas out. I went stage 2 and got really structured, disciplined, and worked on it. And then I started to accept myself in stage 3. I started to accept that my consciousness, my awareness, and my energy can both be present in my experience, that I don't have to worry about crazy desires getting me in trouble, erratic activities, emotional reactions. My second chakra is worked out because I went to Reclaiming Sacred Passion with Trikamasa Yoga. And this is all worked out. And I go, okay, so I don't have to worry about that stuff anymore. I'm in stage 3. I'm in self-acceptance, I'm in relaxation, and so forth. And at that point, you take a big relax. Many people will stop the path altogether for years at a time and say, I just want to relax here. I just want to know my nature, relax here, and not really struggle. I want to enjoy this time, because stage 3, you get a lot of healing as well, because you're putting out a lot of effort to change yourself. And, first you're putting out a lot of effort running wild in stage 1. Then you're putting out a lot of effort to control it and repress certain habits that have to be repressed in the beginning in stage 2. And then you finally get to 3 and it's like, I can relax. I can take a breather. And in that moment, you see a lot of times the idea of the path as a goal, a lot of times the idea of a goal at the end of the path, like a carrot on the end of the stick, goes away. And we just say, I just like being me. I just like being right here, right now. And I like being with my energy, with my awareness, and looking at how I work and discovering myself. It's a great stage of self-discovery. And then in stage 4, we connect it up to the outer world a little bit more. And we start bringing ourselves out into the world, but still we're not looking for enlightenment usually. So that could be stage 3. A person asking this kind of question could be in stage 3. There's nothing wrong with it. Stay there. Because here's what I say. As I was taught, and as I experienced, and all my students have experienced who move through stage 3, if you stay really honest to the process of not wanting a goal out there and just being with what is, you'll move through stage 3 if that's what you're in. And eventually you'll start moving into 4 and you'll hit 5. And you'll realize, no, I really do want liberation. I really do want enlightenment, because now I understand it in a way that is so profoundly different than what I could have possibly understood in stage 2 or 3. Forget about 1. They don't want to know about enlightenment. Stage 2 or 3, enlightenment understanding is so completely different. Okay, now I think I want to go for it because I get it. It's like the only game in town and I'm really not free, right? So if I'm really not free, I want to be free. And I'm starting to realize the game of suffering. See, because as you go through the stage, you don't really understand how you're suffering. When you're in stage 2 and 3, you're still suffering. But when you get in 3, you kind of think like you're not suffering anymore. I'm going with the flow. I'm doing what nature wants. Yeah, I have a little bit of difficulties, but it's kind of God realmy stage 3. And when you get to 4 and you engage with the world powerfully and it brings problems into your life again, because that's normal with the world, and you go into 5 and all the karmas that you didn't want to look at come roaring back, tigers come to get you. Oh man, I'm still stuck. I thought I was really like living this free, spontaneous, I'm enlightened kind of thing. And you go, no. So then you really get the idea. I do want to be enlightened. I do want to be liberated. I really do understand what that means now. And I understand how I was suffering before. And I understand how to not deal with that is also to continue my suffering and all other beings suffering. And then I make the commitment to enlighten myself for the benefit of all beings. See, it's not about us. So it's usually a stage 3, 4 idea that I'm okay, everything's great, there's no goal. Because once you get it in 5, what it's really about, and in 6 and 7, you go, wow, actually, I have a responsibility by the pure fact that I'm human, that I have a sentient nature, that the Dharma, Kaya is in me, and all other beings also have the base, that all other beings are suffering. I have an obligation to develop myself completely, to fulfill the journey of enlightenment, and to then benefit all beings. Because at stage 5, 6, you're going to start feeling so one with all beings that you can't stand their suffering anymore, and you're going to continually work for it. But that happens also at 3 and 4 and earlier 5, right? But it's a different feeling when it's 6, 7, because then it's you. Their suffering is really your suffering. You really can't stop to try to help because you know that your suffering and theirs are really the same, actually, on a deep, deep level. Okay, so that's one way it can come out of stage 3. It could also be a stage 6 experience. Now, if a person's gone all the way through 5 and they hit 6, they also feel nothing but devotion. But actually, 6 has a strong pull towards realization, strong pull towards liberation, at the same time being very fixed in the moment of complete love and devotion and surrender and flow and all those lovely God realmy kind of things. But in 6, they're not God realmy, they're really real, you know. But still, there's a little bit of a sense that you want the goal at the end of the path. And in 5, for sure, like I said, you understand that there is a goal. You go for that goal for liberation, but you start to go for it in the beginning at 5 because you want to be liberated from your suffering. By the end of 5 going into 6, you realize a bigger game is involved, and you really do want to achieve that liberation, that final release, so that you can be a Buddha to benefit all beings. It changes the whole game. And so it's fine to sit down and relax in stage 3 and 4 and recoup again. It's fine to recoup again in 6 and heal a little bit as well. So there's 2 ways that it might come out. 6, though, usually does have a pull towards liberation because you're starting to really understand it, having gone through 5. So what was your question there, Sandra? Let's see. What if I don't? Yeah. So don't worry about it. Don't long for liberation. I think if a person is meant to follow their nadi, to be a yogini and be highly realized, just be true to what's happening in each moment. Eventually, just being okay with the flow of each moment, which is the way we talk about enlightenment, because we're not enlightened yet, we're not fully realized yet, it won't be the real enlightenment. It's a stage that we're going through. It will become dissatisfying. There will be a natural period, a natural time where it becomes dissatisfying. At that point, you're going to be drawn to a path, you're going to be drawn to a teacher, and within a certain amount of time, you're going to go, I'm going to get initiated with this person, I'm going to go, because 3 will change to 4 and 5. That's the way that goes, because eventually we get bored. It's just too limited to be like, I'm so wonderful. It's so great. Everything's going so great. I'm so intuitive. I'm so with it. That's a great stage, and it can go on for like 2, 3, 4. But there's a point where you go, where it just naturally ends, and you go back into, I don't think I'm there yet. I think I really want to go the full journey. I can relate to this question a lot because I had this a lot in 1986, 87 in Australia. And kind of magic was happening for me, which happens for a lot of people when you get in this stage. If you have a lot of self-acceptance and love and you're starting to work into stages 4 and 5 a little bit, you get a little charisma, you get a little bit of energy of presence, and people start to see it. So I was being invited to write books and to teach all over Australia. And I was on a tour with a whole bunch of people, including this fellow, Robert Kiyosaki, who became 20 books on the New York Times bestseller list and writes about spiritual money making all the time and everything. So I was in this kind of new age world of teaching, but I was trying to teach core enlightenment technologies on this tour with all these kind of new agey shamanic teachers. And eventually I just got bored with it. I got completely bored with it. I felt intuitive. I felt flowing. Money was coming. People were getting a lot of good stuff from what I was teaching. It was helping a lot of beings. So it wasn't like I wasn't helping anybody. I was trying to help and so forth. But the real sense of finishing the journey and becoming brutally enlightened, like a Buddha, so I could help all beings, I didn't really have that in me yet. It didn't really awaken yet. I knew about the idea. Then shortly into that, a year or 2 of doing that, it awoke in me so strongly. And immediately I found out who my guru was, and boom, I went straight into it. So this is a natural thing. You become bored or dissatisfied, or you start to even just think, maybe there's something bigger than just me. and just how I feel flowing around, and then it changes, and then you go much deeper. Second question from Sandra, can I invoke para instead of Saraswati in the blessing mandala? The blessing mandala is handed down to me the way it is from the masters. In Kashmir Shaivist temples, it was also the same. There was always Ganesha and then Saraswati. Of course, you can use para, because para is just another form of Saraswati, really. So it really doesn't matter if you want to customize that in your own way. But Saraswati has benefits that I think are very good. Para is the most para Shakti, right? The most inaccessible in a way. She's in a full lotus. She's sitting way up there in the clouds. Saraswati is a little bit like that, but I think she's a little bit in between and more accessible. So sometimes I would think maybe go for Saraswati. But you can do, of course, if you want to substitute para or Durga for Saraswati, you can. Kali, if you wanted to, you could. But definitely you want Ganesha and Devi. Ganesha and Devi, and an enlightened Devi, not a demigod Devi or an unenlightened goddess, right? Okay. So yeah, you could do that if you wanted to. But when we practice all together as a group, which we do, then you won't know the mantra. Or maybe you memorize it and use it when you're in group practice if you want. It's okay. The para, apara, parapara, and para, those devis, by the way, they're very modern, and that's okay. And maybe that's cool and it works for you. I have para devi in a crystal ball over my shoulder. You can see on the altar behind me that Christian Deviatri made, beautiful para devi floating in the crystal. So I understand she's beautiful and I love her image too. But she's para, she's the ultimate. Sometimes we need something a little bit more that we can connect to, right? And that's why they thought Ganesha and Devi, and this is the two that are always used. So yeah, feel free if you want to. But when we do group practice, we'll do Saraswati. Okay, now I got to read more questions in the messenger. Where am I? David? David Bishop. Hello, Norway. Could you explain how to do non-conceptual meditation in 2 seconds or less? David, I love you. It's a really long conversation about a very, very simple thing. This is what all these Dzogchen books are about. This is what all the non-dual, non-conceptual meditation books are about. But here's the simplest instruction the Abhinavagupta gave himself. Take nothing, leave nothing, be with everything as it is, right? Let's talk a little about non-conceptual rather than instructions for it for the moment. When we practice non-conceptual meditation, the idea, you have two ways to go. There's two ways to do non-conceptual. And I was instructed in Taoist practice like this, in Zen practice like this, and in Tantric Yoga like this, and Dzogchen, that there's two ways to go. One is you say, okay, I understand the view. My own Dharmakaya, my own base mind is ultimate Dharmakaya, ultimate realization. It's there already in my heart essence. I just don't recognize it. And if I understand it's self-perfected, self-arisen already, then I don't need to do anything at all. The view and the fruit and the path in between collapse all together into one bindu. And I just need to sit and practice non-conceptual or not, like just let it all unfold over thousands of lifetimes. And I don't care how long it takes to get realized. This is one approach. I can't do it because I don't want to damage myself and others in the meantime while it's all waiting, but some people do. In that approach, you just sit non-conceptual and there's absolutely no instructions. You just sit and don't move. The only instruction is don't move for 2 hours or more, a few times a day, and that's it. And they say, why is there no instruction? I say, because whatever's going to arise in your mind doesn't matter at that point. It doesn't matter. Whatever's going to arise in your mind doesn't matter. Thanks. Crack one. Because you're already that non-conceptual reality at some level. You don't realize you're that non-conceptual reality, but if you want to fully imbibe that, fully become that non-conceptual reality, all you have to do is sit and wait, and the karmas will run off. In this lifetime, next lifetime, whatever, and you don't care how many lifetimes because you're non-conceptual, right? You don't care. You don't care about any suffering anymore. It'll all fall off. And then you just sit in a meditation posture. Teacher will teach you the posture, and you meditate. And then in between meditation, you do whatever you want. That's one approach. It's a valid approach. I don't do it. Nobody I know is doing it. But anyway, let's explain a little more. So again, the other way of doing non-conceptual, I said there's two ways. The other way that is, 99.9% of people will do is to understand that your mind prevents yourself. Your discursive mind and the karmic conditioning of your discursive mind prevents yourself from being that relaxed, open-ended, pure, spontaneous being that you want to be. And that's what ultimate enlightenment really is anyway. And you get a rainbow light body shortly after. So to do that, we actually have to be understanding the absolute teaching while we live the relative reality that we're limited, that we still have lust, that we still have anger, that we still fall unconscious and ignorant, that we're still selfish, that we're not fully enlightened, that we still need more work, but that we enjoy it every moment anyway. It's okay. We don't have to beat ourselves up about it, but this is the relative view that we're not there yet. I mean, and you got to remember in our tradition, if you're not farting rainbows and burping lightning and flying to town on your magic carpet, or just flying through the air instead of taking your car or motorcycle, you're not enlightened. Because enlightenment in our tradition is the full picture, you become a full Buddha. So if that's the case, there's still some work to do. And non-conceptual meditation for those people is something that should be learned graded, step by step by step. We're going to hold a way of meditation. We have one, right? Next year?
Way of meditation, yeah.
This year or next year?
This year.
This year in November, we have way of meditation being offered. We will be offering way of meditation every year, if not twice a year, once a year, at least once a year, but probably twice a year, probably here in Costa Rica, maybe in Europe sometime, if I'm invited. In way of meditation, there's two ways to do it. There's a progressive way where we teach all the levels. And there's another retreat that I'm holding every year where we all practice Kundalini Hatha Yoga in the morning, multiple levels in one room, doesn't matter. And then we practice meditation 2 or 3 times a day after that with Q&A. And then integration time in between. Walk on the beach, little body surfing, lay in the sun, swim in the pool, have a nap, whatever. So in this way, I'm going to definitely teach non-conceptual meditation, and we will do a non-conceptual meditation practice every single day together. I will practice with you and the whole group during way of meditation. This used to be called Mind of Shiva, this training. And I gave it in Thailand sometimes for 50, 60 people at a time. And it's a wonderful training. Christopher Wallace attended it one time. So the Mind of Shiva training is great because you're going to get your definite instructions in non-conceptual, mostly instructions in non-conceptual. And then other meditations during the day, we'll be doing conceptual meditations that are important to learn, to refine the mind and relax it to go into that non-conceptual cloud, right? Because we have to work with it. We have to just admit that we have a relatively dualistic mind and this stuff still comes up and prevents us from relaxing into our own nature, okay? So that's a little bit of non-conceptual, David. I can't give instructions in it right now. It's just too big, but we'll get around to it. Sandra's there.
Follow-up questions from the previous answers.
She's got one from a follow-ups.
Yeah, I know. So you can start with
Let me start with that one. So a follow-up to Sandra's, can you explain what it means by nadi? So nadi in the Trikamahasiddha yoga tradition, nadi in Sanskrit means flow. So when I take someone's pulse in Ayurveda, I'm feeling their nadi. I'm feeling the flow of the prana through the channels at the radial artery, and I'm trying to feel what that flow is. Nadi also means channel. The nadis in the body are channels of energy, again, flowing energy through a channel. But here we're using nadi in the term of what is my fated destiny in life? A lot of tantra is about being smart, about knowing what our masters have learned and passing that knowledge forward. And one of the greatest bits of knowledge we receive is Atma Shakti training, which teaches us about the self process. Before we become all, we have to become a self. In that self process, we have to know our fated destiny. So astrology is developed to know your fated destiny of time and space. Ayurveda is developed to know your fated destiny of physical constitution, which affects mental and spiritual constitution. So nadi is that fated destiny that we learn and we follow, which keeps us protected on the Dharma and keeps us moving down the path. And actually ensures liberation in one lifetime if we really understand our fate and follow it. And don't try to follow other people's fate. right? We do that unconsciously a lot. So that's why I created Atma Shakti training, so we could really understand that level of the teachings. I mean, those teachings existed in ancient India and Tibet, but I made them in a form that Westerners could understand better. And the practices come from ancient practices too, that practice set that helps us get our self together on that level that helps reveal our nadi, because our nadi is not something that we just see in an astrology chart. That's part of it. The other part of the picture is what we do every moment to create that nadi. We co-create it with our birth karma, with our desire to be a dharma practitioner to benefit all beings, and with the circumstances that come into our life moment to moment. Those three come together and continually produce a nadi. Okay, so that's what that is, Sandra. Follow-up question. Nicholas didn't ask one first.
But do you want to be able to answer the questions that were follow-ups to what you've already discussed?
Okay, so this is a follow-up to things we already discussed, right? Hello, Nicholas. Bon dia. Can you explain a bit more about what happens in our practice of visualizing and merging with our fully realized light being self, mirror self? Oh, of course, mirror self practice. Okay. So in the Atma Shakti sequence of practices, there's one stage where we do the mirror self practice, and it's super powerful. I mean, really powerful. Hard in the beginning because you have to visualize yourself as a translucent crystal light body, not hard crystal, but crystal light, translucent. You have to see all your features, but no coloring. And it's really difficult because we have a hard time looking at our own face, visualizing our own faces usually, because we have different kind of karmas within us that block us from seeing that in one whole picture. We see an eye, we see a forehead, we see a little mouth or something, but seeing the whole thing and be able to like hold it there, hold it in your image with a whole body and feel good about it. It's really hard. Sometimes people will cry, and that's great to process out that lack of self-worth, self-hatred, whatever. These practices really are powerful psychotherapy in themselves in this sense. So what happens in our practice when we're visualizing this and merging with it? Well, we create this visual, then we merge with it in the practice set. If you're coming to Rotterdam in April, you'll receive it there. Where's the other one? New York and China?
New York and China.
Then New York and China. New York in May?
No,
April, May. Okay. April for New York, Brooklyn, April for Rotterdam, China in June. Yeah, China in June. Okay. What happens? Well, first, it's kind of like those mirror neurons that we have where you're looking at the yantra or the murti of the deity for so long, you start to feel like the deity, act like the deity, speak like the deity. You're getting purified just by connecting so much. Why it's so important to have a proper altar, a proper tantric altar, and not too many images, and focus on central image and really draw that energy to you and awaken that energy from within yourself. This is the reason, because we're going to merge with it. When you have an altar like the one I saw in Jiva Mukta Yoga in New York a long time ago with Fred Flintstone on it, and Santa Claus and Krishna and like Bart Simpson, all these like crazy images were on this altar. I was like, wow, that's messed up. It means the person really doesn't understand how the brain works, how the mind works, or how the consciousness works. I've heard since then they fixed it up. That's good. Because what you see is what you become. So there's a saying in the old Vedas that the Tantrics brought with them. Yat bhavati tad bhavati. What I contemplate on, I become. Yat bhavati. What I contemplate on, I become. That's extremely important. You watch porn, you become porn. You watch violent movies, you know, people ripping each other apart, play video games where you're pulling the spine out of somebody. I saw that on one of my kids' video games. I said, you're not watching that one anymore where someone wins the fight by pulling the spine right out of the person. Sorry, no way. That kind of stuff is bad because it basically programs you in that direction. There's no way around it. So we, in the developing stages of working with our dharma and our karma, we have to use images that evoke and invoke and awaken within us that which we already have there in its pristine state. That's what happens when we visualize the mirror-like crystal self and bring it back into ourself, right? Now your question, are we trying to connect to our enlightened stage 10, 12 future being, which can operate beyond space and time, use as a bridge to essence? We're trying to connect to the Sambhogakaya in a nutshell. So Sambhogakaya is the extension of the Dharmakaya, or the base, that is the raw potential energy of everything that ever will be or ever was in the universe before it becomes form. Pure potential energy contained within itself, desire within itself, not outside itself, not wanting anything outside itself, pure bliss, pure perfection, innately already there. So that crystal self is that Sambhogakaya. I don't want you to think about it like it's somewhere out there, like stage 10, 12. You should think about it's right there now, right? And that's fine. And let it just be like that. Don't think, oh, I'm living it, and delude yourself into being enlightened, unless, of course, you are in that moment. But really have the sense that that's who you are, and you're invoking it so that you can bring more of that. I was kind of on the end of that. Go back a second. And you can use it as a bridge to essence. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, you always want to be invoking a sense of Dharmakaya and Sambhogakaya, right? The Trishul has three different prongs: Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, Nirmanakaya. So, of course, we want to invoke them all the time. That's what it helps to help us become familiar with. But of course, when the experience comes fully for real and not self-generated, it will no longer be contrived. And that means you'll have the real experience directly of it. It'll be quite astounding, right? Really quite astounding. Sambhogakaya is quite astounding. Okay. Gabriella? No. Okay. Okay. Chitrajoti, how are you in Australia? Gosh, I'm really feeling from my home country there with the burning trees, man. And I caught something you put up on your blog for a moment about that it's some kind of chemicals that they're spraying, the government's spraying on it. It's crazy that this is being done. I don't understand any reason why. I'm so sad, really. So many animals damaged as well, and the whole environment. Okay. Anyway, I hope you make it through that well, and I hope it doesn't get up where you're at. You're safe by the ocean there, which is great. Okay. Could you really ever get to stage 5 and have no karmic tigers? It would seem like that wouldn't be possible. Exactly, Chitra. It's not possible to get to stage 5 with no karmic tigers. You're always going to have some. The point is this: why I emphasized purification over and over, round after round of purification, why I taught so many people basic practice over and over and over and over and over. Oh, I want to go to higher practice. I'm going to go find this Lama, that guru. Well, go ahead. Because if we don't do round after round to diminish as much as we can of our karmas from 2, 3, and 4, when we're in 5, it's going to be really too difficult. And remember, 5, 6 is like a little barrier that keeps us out of 7. It's this invisible ceiling, like we're hitting our head on this big glass ceiling. So if we don't really process out a lot of the karma, like a major quantity of the karma, then 6 and 7 is going to be impossible. But you're never going to process out all of the karmic tigers in 5, all of the karmas by the time you get to 5. That's impossible. Because karmic shaya, or the stage when we let go of every single karma that we have, is stage 10. That's Mahasiddha stuff. So all we're trying to do is decrease the total amount. And here's the thing, here's a real cue. Decrease total amount of karma. Run off the ones you can that are easy to run off. Transform them, the little stuff. Oh, I'm lazy. Okay, now you're not lazy anymore. Good. But the deep stuff, which usually has to do with the 3 main karmas, right? Lust, anger, judgment, aggression, whatever, impatience. Lust is also desire for things like fame, self-infatuation, narcissism, thinking I'm enlightened and I'm like this new age God realm bunny before I am really enlightened. That's all the same desire. And then ignorance, where I don't want to know. I just don't want to know. So really those karmas we're always going to have until stage 10 to run off are going to be in those 3 categories. By the time we reach 5, we want to try to work through as much of those 3 as we can. And here's the key. If we're capable of it, before we get to stage 5, if we can become aware of each one of those ones that we have, even the real heavy Rahu stuff that we have a really hard time seeing, and not only become aware of it, but own it completely and set up a structure so that you have a way to monitor yourself so you don't lose control, you're way ahead of the game. 5 is going to work. You might fall here and there, but it'll come back. But what am I saying like this? Let's say Rahu, the planet Rahu in our chart, describes our parts of ourselves that we really don't know, really unconscious karmas, or our Enneagram number has parts of our unconscious karmas we really don't know. And what we want to do in 2, 3, and 4 is nail those things down, get reflection from others, reflection from our teacher, do deep tarka contemplation ourselves to try to see these things, knowing our Enneagram number, doing foundation practice in our tradition, which is Enneagram as well, knowing Enneagram, knowing these other ones, looking deep inside, looking in with Tarka. Then when we see those limitations, okay, that's so big, I don't think I could ever change it. One of the ways you know that is you feel like, one of the ways you know it's one of the big ones that is really going to be a karmic tiger that stays with you all the way, is it feels like that. Like, I don't know if I'll ever get over on this. You know, I overeat, I emotionally eat, I love eating, I make excuses, it's about nutrition, I can't stop it. I don't know if I'm ever going to stop eating, let's say, for example. Then what you do is you say, okay, that's probably going to stay with me through 5, 6, into 7, become echo karma. But as I'm going into 5, from 4 to 5, let me set up a way that I can keep an eye on that. I now know what that one is. I'm going to set up a way that I check in with someone about my diet, that I write what I eat down and I just examine it with loving kindness for myself, not hitting myself like a diet Nazi, but I look at it with loving kindness and I keep control. And I write definite limits for myself. By the time I have the 3rd tub of Haagen-Dazs ice cream, I'm out of control. You know, like some ways to really check it and make sure that you're not doing that kind of thing. Now, if you do that, your stage 5 is going to cruise. That's what I always used for stage 5. I looked at my deep Rahu karmas. I also looked at my Enneagram number. Okay, can go into the God realm. Okay, can go into the desire realm too much, can get way too lost in esoteric practices as the meaning of life. Esoteric practices are not the meaning of life, but I thought they were at one point. So you look at that and you go, okay, I'm going to fix ways to stop myself from getting stuck in these things for the rest of my life, and not make a huge karmic tiger out of it in 5, and then work with it usefully in 6 and 7 and 8 and thereon. Good question, Chitra. Okay. Atma Yoga, follow up. Hi, Dharma, can you explain the importance of the Satguru and when to take refuge? And those times are known as the end of Kali Yuga. Okay, so quick thing. I talked about Satguru a bit. I talked about taking refuge, which means initiation with that guru. In Indian tradition, refuge is initiation, and then you go down that path and they guide you. Technically, it happens in stage 5, the stage we've been talking about, after all your psychological development is there, after you're a fully empowered being. So if the teacher says, jump off a bridge, you do it from your own consciousness. You have your own self-authority, no one coerced or manipulated to do it. If the teacher says you should do this practice, you're not going to whine and complain about it. If the teacher gives you a spiritual name, you're going to go, oh, I want to change my spiritual name. I don't like it. That happened a lot in the past with me, with students who are not psychologically mature yet, wanting to change their name every year or two. You know, it all shows that you're not really ready for a Satguru yet. So you're ready for a Satguru in our 12-stage view training when you've done stage 1, 2, 3, 4. And now you realize, I know what enlightenment is. I want to be a Buddha to benefit all beings. I'm kind of sick of myself. I want to go take this path where I become the path itself, where the path is the goal is the path, not on the carrot on the end of the stick, but I want to really make the path become my full dharma for the realization of all beings, right? Maybe, Sandra, that's what you're kind of talking about. And at that point, you know you need a traditional path. You know your local yoga teacher in the studio is not going to be a guru for you. You know some new age thing's not going to do it. You know basically that some dead guru is not going to do it that you read a book about. You know it's not going to be a modern teacher of tantric yoga who hasn't practiced much in their life. You know it comes from the real thing. And you got to have somebody who has a really good, long experience with practice, has attainment, and they can keep themselves out of, they're clear on being a Dharma being when they work with you and guide you. And I really say, Atma Yoga, watch out for gurus who try to tell you what to do. Try to tell you, you should do this, you should do that. Students are always asking, should I get married? Should I have a kid? Should I go to college? Should I do this job? Should I do that? I'm always like, you got to work that stuff out for yourself. But they'll be hounded and hounded. Well, what do you think? Is it going to be bad if I do this for me? And eventually I give an answer like, well, it's not going to be bad, but you still got to figure it out for yourself. And then years later, decades later, students will say, you told me to do this and I did it and I hate you for it. I said, look, I would never tell someone to do something unless I knew they were going to kill themselves by not doing it. So it was a greater bodhisattva activity to tell you to do something. Super rare, super. I don't even remember doing it, because I think everybody has to be fully empowered, self-empowered. And you have to be 2 things, which are kind of weird. You have to be self-empowered, Atma Shakti style, psychotherapy completed, pretty much 99%, Atma Shakti practice complete, powerful, nadi, destiny, I know where I'm going, and you have to be sick of yourself. Simultaneously, you got to be sick of this separate sense of self that keeps getting in the way of your full realization. That's when you're ready for teacher and path and commitment. But there's nothing worse than taking a Satguru, going down the path and then stopping, and then going to get another one, and then going to get another one, and then going to get another one. This is terrible, and I see it today. Just collecting empowerments, collecting teachers, or worse yet, turning against your teacher if the teacher was really trying to help you, but you were too immature to really accept that help, and it hurt, it hurt your ego structure. Well, the whole point of a real teacher you take initiation with is to point out your ego structure. And that happens after stage 5. After stage 5, you're tough enough to take it. Richard Gere, the famous actor, has a teacher named the Dalai Lama. You may have heard of him. Dalai Lama looks so sweet in public. Someone said to Richard Gere once, "How lovely you have Dalai Lama for your guru. That's so wonderful." He said, "Wonderful for you. You don't know what it's like. I get in a room with him, the door closes, he beats the crap out of me." That's what a real teacher-student relationship is about. And that's what a student wants, not because they hate themselves and they want to beat themselves up, but because they really want to grow and they love to trust a teacher to take them to that place. So that's when you're ready, when you're mature. Second question you had on there about Kali Yuga, real short. Tantra doesn't say anything about Kali Yuga, actually. Some teachers of quasi-tantric things, like Yogananda's teacher, he was really, Sri Yukteswar, he was an astrologer, he was big on Kali Yuga, but it's not really important to focus on. I think it's completely unimportant to focus on Kali Yuga. We got Kali Yuga happening right here. We have ecological disaster going on right now. We have karmic self-destruction full mode right now in our life. Why we got to worry about the whole universe going through Kali Yuga? If the whole universe is going through Kali Yuga, we're all going to get sucked up in it anyway. We can't do anything about the universe. Deal with this. Deal with your mind. Deal with that mind. This is the key. That's all you got to do. Deal with your mind, your energy. Let Kali Yuga take care of itself. Let the universe take care of itself. That's for the Buddhas to deal with, not for us yet. Okay.
New questions.
Okay. Guilherme, new question. Hello, Guilherme. Bom dia. How to prepare a place for the practice of devotion? Should we do something to purify and protect the place you're practicing? Just like we give all the instructions, you can see them on the YouTube channel for setting up altars and things. It's all the same instructions. There's no special place for devotion, except you might want to change your altar to reflect more of that devotional state. Over this shoulder, where am I? Right here. There it is. Right by the end of my finger is Shenla Odkar, the god of the Sambhoga Kaya for the Bumpos. So that is my devotional altar area. And if you were to see this side of the room, this side of the room, where all of the Shaiva tankas are, you'd see Shambhunatha. Shambhunatha Shiva is the devotional, and Ma Pranashakti are two devotional deities of the Shaiva system on that side that deal with the left and right channels, manifestation of Sambhogakaya. So here you see, there, Shenla Odkar, little guy in the middle. So in this way, so that's devotional. I sit down there, I have my Root Lama's picture there, Root Guru picture there, and I have this Sambhogakaya deity that I can develop this deep devotional bhava for, because Sambhogakaya deities are always sweet, smiling, benefic, devotional. That's a refuge mandala for the whole lineage, but it's also where you take refuge is also devotional, right? So nothing special, normal practice area, normal altar, nothing special to purify. All the normal things you do to make your altar that we've taught about before, and then you put devotional image. When practicing devotion, part 2 here, when practicing devotion, is it normal to have revelation, insight, and really feel possessed by the deity? Well, of course. I mean, devotion is one of the 2 things that are crucial on the path. You have to have devotion at every stage of the path. Every stage of the path, we want to be possessed actually by our own essence, by our own Dharmakaya, our own Sambhogakaya, which are there, but not possessing us, not running our life. Deities are a bridge to awaken that within us. So I don't really want to get possessed by a deity per se. Ancient Tantra said, Avesha, you would be, Devavesha, you'd be possessed by a deity, all right? And that's okay in a certain sense, but it feels like that sometimes when you're practicing deity yoga, but we don't really want to be possessed by a deity. We want to be ourselves. We want to be our own personality display. Do the practice, become the deity's energy. Let the deity clarify your essence. That's what you really want to do. What precautions should we take not to be confused during these experiences? Well, you have to remain in view, understand the view. And understand the view of the system is to not become a deity. I'm a human. I don't want to be a deity. I don't want to be a deity. I don't want to be a Shiva. I don't want to be Shakti. I don't want to be Para. I don't want to be any of that stuff. I'm a human. I want to be a fully realized Buddha, a Mahasiddha with a rainbow light body. That's what I want. Because why? That's natural. I'm a human. That's natural. That's why yoga and meditation, that's the path. It's the human path of realization, right? So I want that. I don't want to be a deity, okay? Don't get possessed by a deity. Get inspired and through resonant vibration, become the same awakened state that a deity is as their awakened state, but do it as a human. Good. Gregory Dunn. Hey, Gregory, how are you? I've heard you reference the 5 eyes before. Is this the same as the 5 eyes that Liu Ming taught? Are these referenced in OPT? Do you find these teachings useful? Yeah, Liu Ming talks about 5 eyes, and I found that really great teaching to get from him as well. It is not the same. It's a little different. I like his teaching on it. I don't know where he got that from, which Taoist master he got that from, but it seems very authentic, that 5-eye teaching that he gives on it. But our 5-eye teaching is more like the 5 linga. So it's similar. It's similar, but a little bit different. It's not necessary to really understand it. It's really kind of esoteric. But I think it's good in the sense that most people think about the 3rd eye as the maximal eye, and then progressively, actually, in most of these other type of eyes, you're moving down. People are like, what? And there it goes along with the idea of Vach, where the Paravach, getting down to the deepest levels, down in Muladhara chakra. People often don't understand this about Kundalini. So many confusions about Kundalini, but here's the real one, big one. Why are we going back down to Muladhara so much in real Kundalini practice if really we're trying to bring it up to the crown and out, you know? And it's because people don't understand the 3 phases of Kundalini, the 11 movements of the energy within those phases. It's very misunderstood. So I just did a very thorough class on Kundalini for the preliminary practice set that's going to be up online soon. And I highly recommend everybody do that class if you want to study deeper in the school. It's going to make clear many, many things that are confusing, one of which is Kundalini. Okay. So they're useful. Yep. Okay. Yep. Okay. Mark, you leaving the cursor right in the middle. Mark, could you please explain which aspects of Sri Vidya are contained within TMY? Is it possible to maintain and develop existing Sri Vidya sadhana within TMY? Okay. So Mark, here's how it goes. The esoteric aspect of Sri Vidya, the fruit of Sri Vidya, contained in the mantra and the yantra directly, without doing the preliminaries of Sri Vidya, without doing all of the practices and mantra accumulations that say, like Kavitaji would describe in her work, Kavita Chinayam, she's so good at all her Sri Vidya, and so I love that work. We, in our Trikamasiddha Yoga, use the final stage of our conceptual practice during the light practices of the light body and so on. We use the conceptual understanding of Sri Vidya to guide us in that highest view. We use the essential aspects of the transmission of the fruit of those practices that's given to the students in those highest stages to guide the practice in those stages. We don't use all of the pujas, all of the mantras for the dozens of deities that you have to go through in traditional Sri Vidya when you take Sri Vidya as your first step in the path going to the ultimate bindu point. You have to go through each one of the deities around, all the way working yourself in through the different circles, right? That's beautiful. It's wonderful. I think it's an awesome path. Someone could practice that simultaneous to practicing what we're practicing here in Trikamasiddha Yoga. The problem is that what happens now and then is that people who are practicing something parallel, even if it comes from one of the traditions that contributed to Trikamasiddha Yoga, like Vajrayana or like some Indian thing, but mostly the Indian things, we have a problem in that the view sometimes in these Indian traditions gets way too transcendental. And we're not transcendental, we're a Mahasiddha tradition. So when we're going along in the beginning phases, they both, the Trika Mahasiddha Yoga and let's say Sri Vidya, tend to work well together. And then depending how you learn Sri Vidya, is it the Kerala version, which I find very transcendental, or is it the very earlier version that's still surviving in certain places in India, the esoteric version of which survives in our system? If it's going like this, then what happens is the Sri Vidya gets really transcendental and they start diverging and going really different directions, right? This happens a lot with like people that want to practice Kundalini Yoga from a system like Baba Muktananda's Siddha Yoga. That system goes very transcendental. I think it's a very incomplete Kundalini Yoga system, not compatible really at all. So, I mean, you got to really choose where you're going to go at that point. So I know it's a tough thing to answer, but there are certain points where certain systems just aren't compatible anymore. They don't have the same view anymore. Trika Mahasiddha Yoga is extremely immanent and transcendent simultaneously. They pull apart from each other like taffy and get stronger at each end. Like I was making that reference just a moment ago, why in Kundalini practice we go down to Muladhara a lot again, not just up, okay? It's because of that. So it depends on your Sri Vidya. Is your Sri Vidya one that is transcendent and immanent? Yes, then it would be perfectly compatible. Does it have the idea of Mahasiddha's light body practice and so forth? I have not seen a Sri Vidya practice yet that takes into account methodologies to produce the light body and so forth, but it could bring you up to the place where that's okay and still within that Sri Vidya view, and then you could do those yogic practices to get it. That'd be fine. But if it's Sri Vidya of pure transcendentalism, forget it. If it's a Charvaka practice of pure hedonism, forget it. Neither will work, right? Okay, next question. Has to be compatible to the view. Alfredo, okay. Is there in Trika Mahasiddha Yoga a goal or practice similar to those of the Taoist immortals or transcendents who use alchemy or other practices to live hundreds of years? It is not a goal per se, but it is a goal that you could take. In other words, if you go the way of fire, the internal alchemy practice of Kundalini Hatha Yoga that we have in our system, there is a way of combining that with the way of Ayurveda to extend your life for tremendously long periods of time, hundreds and hundreds of years, like Chulen in Tibetan practice. I'm not into it. I don't care to do that. I'd rather rainbow light body out in a short amount of time, like within less than 100 years. But certainly there are masters in our tradition like Chandanatta, Tsewan Rigzin, and others who have extended their lives very long through these practices to help other beings, which is great. So if you're into that, we have the capacity to teach down that path and give you those insights, but eventually you'll have to find somebody who is 500-600 years old to take you under their wing. That's how it really works. So you can get your feet wet with Trika Mahasiddha Yoga if you have a path of going completely as an immortal, a stage 10 immortal. Okay, we can take you there. But if you want to use very complicated methodologies that extend your life for hundreds of years before you become a stage 10 immortal, we don't really emphasize those kind of practices, right? That's a whole different ballgame. See, in our tradition, stage 1 is ignorance and stage 12 is a rainbow light body. That can be achieved in one lifetime. Sometimes masters felt it was very important to extend their lifetime. If you're there, Chitra, Elki, listen up, because sometimes they felt these karmic tigers of stage 5 that I'm carrying as echo karmas into 7, 8, and 9 are just taking too long. I'm going to get past them, but I can see it's like 300 years from now, I can project out. That's when I'm going to get through it based on how it's going. And they say, well, I just want to live longer so I can make it to that point because I want to be a stage 10 Mahasiddhas. I want to get rid of all stage 10 Mahasiddha. I want to get rid of all of my limiting individual karma. And I want to be like a Taoist immortal, like the ones you mentioned here, Alfredo. We have those, of course, in our tradition. They are our tradition of Shaivism and Tibetan Buddhism and Tibetan Bon and Dzogchen is rife, full of Mahasiddha immortals at stage 10 who don't have to die. They have an immortal body. They can exist as long as they want in that body until they decide to go stage 11, 12 and rainbow light body. So that is in our system, but we just we prefer to do it in a normal life cycle. So if you want to go on that other level, I highly commend you for doing it. It's really cool, but it's really hard to find the real thing. I searched, because I was into it for a while. I searched India, China, and honestly, to find anyone who's doing it for real these days, I think it's next to impossible, if not impossible. So I gave up, because you could spend your whole life just looking for it. Then you're too old to make use of it, because you have to have a certain amount of energy to do it. So I let go of that one. Okay, so there you go. That's how we work with that.
Last question.
Sandra, so you got it now. That's great. And Sandra, you and I can dialogue more in person about that as well. It's a big question. Nelson Tedesco. Hello. What is the role of tattoos in the tradition? Are there any karmic implications of getting them without proper orientation? So glad you asked, Nelson. Tattoos should be balanced on the body whenever you get them. Spiritual tattoos are usually symmetrical. That's kind of important. The second thing about spiritual tattoos is they should be given from a spiritual tattoo master in a spiritual tattoo tradition. Third thing about tattoos is they should be on you not for any kind of self-adornment at all. Like our spiritual tattoo master would get so angry, he'd throw you out. If you said, oh, it's so good looking, he'd be so angry to throw you out, because it's not the purpose. They should be on you for spiritual purpose, spiritual practice. And once they're on you, you're living with a murti on you, and you have to respect it. And you have to practice the mantras of it. And you have to realize you're now a walking, living yantra. So you can't fall from that conduct. Okay, those are three things. Now, the tattoos deepen us in our practice. The tattoos mark a very deep movement into how we're committing, if we're not doing it just to show off. And I talked about this in a recent Yogi to Yogi before this, one or two before. I'm going to take a group of people to my tattoo master in Bangkok as I pass through Bangkok on business or to do a teaching in Bali or something. I teach sometimes in Asia, and I can meet everybody there, stay for a week and relax while we go to the tattoo master and you get in your tattoos, because a dialogue between you and the master, it's good if I'm there. If you're my student, I'm saying, because I can help them fine tune to our tradition. That tradition that happens in Thailand from the masters that we receive are from, excuse me, that tradition came from India into Cambodia, highly developed in Cambodia and Burma, and then went down into Thailand, and these masters are from that tradition. So it's actually a Shaiva tradition from way back that has been Buddhicized. Our masters recognize that, and we get those tattoos with them to help to get back into our system. So if anybody wants to go on that tour, probably 2021, I'll probably do that one around there on the way back from something teaching in Bali or China or something like that, okay? So if you do the karmic implications are, if you get a spiritual tattoo, you better be serious, and you want to get it symmetrically balanced or you'll throw your channels off, okay? If you already have like Betty Boop on your right arm over here, then you better get somebody else on your other arm, spiritual, to balance just that energy in both sides, okay? More on that on the tattoo tour in Bangkok, right? Okay, Kamala. Oh, is the power cosmology of merit in? Is the power of merit in this path? Is the cosmology of merit in this path? Not really sure what you mean, Kamala. I'm going to take a guess, and if I'm wrong and you're here online, please send in something really fast to correct me, or send 3 sentences right now to correct it while I'm talking. Merit. Now, excuse me. Just got over a chest cold. Merit is this. In Sanskrit, merit is punya Shakti, the energy of accumulating a good force of karma behind you, positive karma, merit. We hear it a lot in Buddhist and Bon tradition. We don't hear it that much in modern Shaivist tradition. I brought it back big time, and now people are talking about it a lot, which I'm really happy. It's become a conversation in Shaivism. Before that, you'd never hear anybody say, okay, let's dedicate the merit of this practice to all beings after. They would chant Shantipat, but they wouldn't even really know what they were doing, you know? And it's important because the ancient tradition of Shaivist yoga and Vedic yoga from way back, oh, that's so much better, is that we are not practicing just for our own development, just for our own self. We are practicing for the benefit of all beings. So every time we end our practice, we want to think of all the lives I've had in the 3 times, of all the different bodies I've had in the 3 times, of all the meritorious activities I've performed in the 3 times, of all the things I've done for people I want to do for, I offer this all in my practice today for the benefit of all beings, not just for myself. That's always been done in lengthy chants. You see, the chanting, the really long books of chants. Do I have mine up there? Let's see if I have the mala of chanting, Siddha Stotra Mala. So the long book of chants that you get when you join traditional Shaivist lineages are just not done anymore. The foundation practices are done there for a really long time. This is one book that I highly recommend if you're into Shaiva Yoga, Siddha Stotra Mala by Bihar School of Yoga. It's excellent. It's crammed with beautiful chants to the deities and Shanti mantras and so forth, as well as what I received in Brahmin training to do Vedic ceremonies. You learn tons of chants for benefiting other people. So our motive has to be for ourselves and for others inclusive. We should always perform merit at the end of every practice session. That was one of the things that interested me the most when I first got involved in Shaiva Tantra. I was like, wow, check it out. After every session, we're doing this, and we're actually performing ceremonies to benefit others. They have this tradition now in Buddhism and Gana Puja. It's kind of going out in Shaiva Tantric practice because basically we're very selfish, to be quite honest. We only think about philosophy and our own meditation and our own. You don't see people running ceremonies just to benefit beings all the time anymore. You don't see very many Shaivist yogins at a high level going out and starting soup kitchens to help people. You don't see whole week-long practice sessions being put up on the internet for people to come and join, to go to people's retreat centers just to practice for the benefit of all humanity. Who'd go? Nobody would go. Who's going to pay $2,000 to go and benefit and chant for other people? We're just too selfish nowadays. But that is not the tradition, folks. The tradition is to be not selfish. The tradition is to love all beings as yourself, like the Master Jesus said. And it's very important that our path take this path of merit, that we are thinking meritorious thoughts, that we're doing meritorious activities, that we always have the benefit of others in mind all the time, and that we reinitiate every day at our altar to go into that mode again, to live another day for the benefit of all, including ourselves, but not about ourselves. It's way too egotistical, modern spiritual practice, Shaivist groups included. And I think it's very important that we do, and the Buddhists aren't immune to this. They can chant, merit all they want, but they can still have an ego. We got to get out of that ego, and we got to practice for the right reasons. And we want to do these kind of chants at the end of practice every time. Dedication of merit. Go to Shakta Shaiva Foundation practice, read the dedication of merit chant every day after practice, every session. Chant the Shantipat mantras with the mudras. Feel what you're doing with the practice. Watch the videos where I teach what each thing means and really invoke it. Yeah, we walk the path of merit. This path, Trikamasiddha Yoga, comes from ancient Shaivist practice, picked up Vajrayana, Bon, Dzogchen, Taoist things along the way. There's no way to say it didn't. I know my gurus would be like, it's purely Indian, but it's not. It's really all of that come together with a strong skeleton framework of Shaivist yoga, and then the light body practices of Dzogchen in the end. So Taoism and Dzogchen. So we have to really understand this idea of merit follows that whole path. All these ones I just named really understand this, and we do too. And this is very important. So I'm really glad you asked that. There says 4 more comments, and we have a few minutes. Should we do them or no?
It's a bunch of thank yous, but you're welcome to read through.
Oh, it's all thank yous? Let me just see. Okay, see you in Rotterdam. Hey, great, see you in Rotterdam. All right, nice. Feather Kelly, love all beings, gratitude, merit. There you go. Right. All right, everybody. All the best. We have Reclaiming Sacred Passion. If you want to uncork that second chakra, use that fuel for higher realization. Was it 4? Like about 4 places left, I think, in that one. That's coming up February 8th, I think. Get online, see that for the events. 13th, February 13th, here in Costa Rica. Then we have the Atma Shakti trainings. Please try to make some of those. And the rest of the things on the schedule. Okay, and then your questions will be answered. And the website's coming out really soon. We're very stoked. We're in filming mode. It's been wonderful, very successful filming, great video classes for a preliminary program coming up. for the foundation program coming up, and for the Kundalini Hatha Yoga Level 1, which will be offered free on the website coming up. Until then, merit to all beings, love to all beings. Sarva Mangalam. And I'm going to ask Suki to please end it so that's recorded and not lost like I always do. Because end live video looks like it might. Goodbye, everybody.